What is up, everybody? I got an awesome guest here. His name is Doug Smith. He's part of the ROI Engine with Mr. Matt Plapp. And in Matt Plapp fashion, he's got his orange on. I don't know if that's coincidence or,
No,
or
no,
what.
purely strategic. My wife has updated my wardrobe. I'm a little different though. I went with the white stripes on the side. Matt's all orange, so I have to have some point of differentiation.
Well, don't tell Matt, but I like that one better.
I will pass that along to my wife. I was almost afraid it kind of looked like a bowling shirt at first, but she's like, it's a bowling shirt.
Well, either way, it looks great.
Cool, thanks, man.
Cool. So today we want to talk about sales, building sales momentum, and I have a bunch of questions lined up. So I'll just start out the gates, guns blazing here.
Do it.
Um, how do we build sales momentum? Like, let's say, I'll give you an example. I just started for you at any job scenario. Let's say the ROI engine. What are the steps to get that momentum going so you get out the gates with confidence, consistency, and keep motivating through?
The first thing is you have to start with the basics. One of the things that I found over the years, even when I was sales manager over 4 radio stations down in Texas, it's the fact that you have so many different ways to try to be successful that oftentimes people will focus big picture and they'll miss the little things that need to be done to really set the foundation for success. Because if you don't have a good foundation, it's like the old analogy of building a home. If the foundation stinks, I don't care if you build a $3 million mansion, that thing isn't going to last. You're going to have problems. So it's the same thing on the sales end, and it's starting with building relationships, knowing your product, taking it step by step. One of the issues, though, that so many people have in the sales world, and it's like that top down pressure, and I can speak firsthand from the radio industry, is that new sales reps will start and they get a 90-day guarantee. And at day 80, they have a review. Well, how many appointments have you had? How many things have you put on the books? How many things have you sold? Well, now the pressure starts and they start cutting corners because it turns into oh my God, I got to make a sale now. And that is the backwards way of doing it. Essentially, you got to be able to realize it is a long-term game. So understanding what your product is, understanding it inside and out, understanding who your competitors are, understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are as a company with your product out in the market. You got to get a full grasp of that first, because without that, you're not going to have confidence. And sales is nothing more than a transfer of confidence. And if you're lacking that, clients and prospects can smell it. They can smell fear. They can smell trepidation. So you got to understand that first. If you don't have those core basics, you're in for a real long haul. So that's the first thing I tell people is understand those basics first before you worry about anything else.
That's awesome. I love that advice, especially like the long game is so important because a lot of like that's traditional. Like I'm in your era in the sense that we were handed a phone, a list of people to call, and it was a matter of immediate impact versus like a learning curve, a runway, and you just have to make sales out the gate. So it makes it difficult and it makes it unnecessary pressure.
Yep. Yeah. And I think the key word you just said, pressure. Again, prospects and clients, they can sense when you're desperate, when you're coming in, and when it's, oh man, I've got to make this sale, or I'm at 90% of my budget and I've got 3 days left, and you're just trying to throw crap at the wall. That is the wrong way of doing it, because that's where the masses, if you will, that's where a lot of salespeople and really where the term salesperson gets such a bad rap. You hear the used car salesman type thing. You say, ah. Well, that's where sales gets such a bad rap, because when you are under pressure and it's, I got to make a sale now, you'll do anything, you'll say anything, you'll lie through your teeth, and it's just to get that deal done. And man, when you start that cycle, it's a vicious cycle, and you can't do that. You got to start small, and it's a nice, steady ramp up. And that's where companies have to realize that they can't put that undue pressure on salespeople. You're making an investment in that sales rep. You got to give them 12 months realistically to say they're going to ramp up. If by month 3 you have a benchmark, okay, have they progressed to this? Month 6, have they progressed to this? That's going to take that pressure and that onus off of them to let them go out and build relationships and do the job and learn and fail. I mean, come on, seriously. Baseball players, if you hit 300 for your career, you're going to the Hall of Fame. Well, a 300 batting average means you got out 7 times. 7 out of 10 times you failed in fame. But in sales, there's such unrealistic expectations that, holy crap, man, you better be batting 700. You better everything you touch turn to gold. And that's just not it. And it's not going to happen right away. So it goes back to those basics and understanding it and learn and, get your teeth kicked in every once in a while. But that slow, steady progression is really the long way to do it.
No, I agree. Because I remember just a quick story, my very first real sales job, believe it or not, I guess those that don't know me may not believe it, but I didn't talk a lot. I hated talking on the phone. And guess what I do? I go out and get a sales job where you have to only talk on the phone. Right. And there was 120 sales reps on the floor. It was realtor.com. And everybody got tapped on the shoulder in my training class, and then you never saw them again. It was peace out. They were fired, terminated. I got the same tap on the shoulder, and I'm like, fuck, I'm out. I was hoping I can quit before I got embarrassed of termination, like the red slip in like an NFL locker or something. But anyways, they just said, look, we're going to move you to another team. Within an hour, I'd gone from closing you're supposed to close like $2,000 a month or something. I'm sorry, $2,000 per day off of calling a list. Right within an hour by moving teams because I had a shit manager that was an asshole, and the new guy was a completely motivational, positive. I ended up averaging like $5,000 a day. It was insane just from the energy, like you mentioned earlier. It's the transfer of confidence, transfer of energy. That was so fulfilling, just because you need somebody encouraging you versus beating the shit out of you.
Exactly. But unfortunately, that's where a lot of management comes in. Again, I can talk firsthand from the radio industry where it just comes top down, but giving people the ability and the encouragement to fail, that's because in sales, like that baseball analogy again, you're going to fail a hell of a lot more than you're going to have success. So understand that, and you're not pressured by it, but you learn from it. That's going to make a really big difference. And, that's just one of the things that I encourage. In fact, doing more things just like you're doing right here, the opportunity to let salespeople interact and have conversations with other people who are doing it, what they do every day, to see other people fail, to see what their successes are, and to have an opportunity to talk about it. I started in sales back in the 90s, man. I had a pager and a roll of quarters in my car. And if my pager went off, I better find a payphone. There's probably people watching this right now going, what the hell is a payphone? And I had to stop and be able to call back to the office. So that was eons ago. We didn't have this opportunity. Maybe there were 1 or 2 nice people back in the office who would be willing to help you out. But to have what you're offering here, and people can watch videos and interact and send messages and emails and talk to people just like who have been there, highs and lows, that is huge for the overall morale of salespeople, because, again, unfortunately, a lot of companies don't give that to them. So we as salespeople need to find it somewhere else.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love like doing Facebook Lives like this. We can crowdsource, we can engage. People a year from now can watch this video. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. Some people are live. What's up, guys? Sorry to not say hey. It's hard for me to multitask when I'm looking at Facebook Live. So what up,
You're
GJ?
Good, man. You're
what
good.
Up, Don? What's up, everybody else? Thanks for joining. Drop a comment if you guys like what Don's saying so far. We're gonna get into some fire about like places to get leads, avoiding and getting out of sales slumps, and then managing salespeople. Because I know that a lot of people who build these awesome agencies that are solopreneurs and outsourcing with VAs, now their problem is they want to get salespeople in to manage other people to do either appointment setting and lead generation and all that stuff. So we're gonna get into some fucking fire here, so we can like get some takeaways that somebody can actually do. And I love the fact that you're from radio. I think radio people are the best salespeople because they know the old school sale, because you know how to convince and communicate. But the best part is you're talking big dollars. You're talking 100,000 6-figure contracts, maybe more, with car dealerships and bigger companies and even local businesses. And you're selling something, no offense to radio people, but it's like sometimes you can't track always the ROI. I know that but with what we sell digital, we can narrow it down almost to the cent at the end of a month and do how many leads did you get, which specific ad got more engagement, exactly on the money, based on the data we receive from Facebook. But then we're also not talking 100 grand. We're talking 2,000, 5,000. So I love the fact that people spend 100 grand on radio. You can't track shit, and you may not even get an ROI. And then on Facebook, you can precisely know exactly the measurement and the ROI, and then people are not willing to spend more money. So that's why I'm even more excited, because you can, once you transfer those numbers of the $100,000 and say that in Facebook world, fucking golden.
Well, in what you mentioned, those of us who have sold radio or sell radio, we always would comment that if you can sell radio, you can sell anything, because we're selling air. Realistically,
Literally.
days, that's it. It's gone. Television, you can see it. There's the whole visual and kinesthetic and different ways people learn, stuff like that. But we're selling air, and you can't track it. And it's been such an interesting dynamic where with radio and television, back in the days, I sold against Yellow Pages. Yellow Pages always won when you were walking in when it came to ROI, because someone go, I got to be in Yellow Pages. I have to have a full color, full page ad. And you go, well, why? Well, because when I ask people how they heard of us, they always say Yellow Pages. It's number one. And my argument or my rebuttal would be, well, there's a good chance they heard your ad on the radio, saw your ad on television, but they couldn't remember your phone number or your address. So they went to the Yellow Pages. And if they called you while, they had the Yellow Pages open and you said, how did you hear from us? What's in front of them? It was the Yellow Pages. Radio and all that never really got the overall credit. And they still say that they can show ROI, but they can't. But where digital has really changed that whole dynamic now is digital came in, just like you said, you could track it, you could prove it, you could go look at the clicks, look at the conversions and everything else. Well, it was a situation where advertisers were comparing digital to radio, television, billboards, Yellow Pages, but now that's changing. Now the mass media is being compared to digital, to where now radio and television, it's all about ROI. They're being pressured to show and prove, if I'm spending $5,000 with you a month or 10 grand a month with you, you better show me it works, not just, well, you reached 200,000 people when they heard it 3 times. So that's really been interesting. And radio stations and TV stations right now, they are all about digital. They all have digital assets. Some of them even have digital companies to where their sales reps are selling radio and television and digital. Some of them have specifically digital sellers. So digital has really flipped how the ROI, comes about and how it's measured. And that's how those of us in the digital realm now have a huge advantage, because you're right. If someone's on radio and they're doing it right, they're spending in the ballpark of, let's just say, about $5,000 a month, and they can't prove it. So if you can walk in and go, hey, for $2,000, for 2,500, here's what we can do. And you're building a database and you're doing this and you're doing this. It's the adage of being able to walk in and go, hey, I tell you what, how about I can show you how to get a documented, proven ROI on your marketing investment, and I can cut your marketing budget in half. So you don't even have to spend or invest exactly what you're doing. I can show you how to do it. And now if you're spending $5,000 in radio and I can show you this and this, and you have all your documentation for $2,500, what would the extra $2,500 in your pocket every month mean to you? Now you get them talking. So it's not even going just after that said dollar amount. Once you prove it, if you know that they've spent $5,000 or $6,000 a month in radio, now there's the opportunity to go, hey, we can do this and we can do this, because they are, known to invest that kind of money. That's how mass media and digital have completely flipped over the last few years. And it's really a hell of an opportunity for those of us in the digital world to prospect the shit out of radio and go after it.
No, definitely. What are some good places to find deals like that, like be a radio TV killer and prospect people who are spending a lot of money on radio and TV?
The easiest way and the free way is you listen. Now, again, you can visit websites, but media websites, television, radio, they still sell skyscraper ads and they're static or whatever, but that's really a complete waste. There are some different websites off the top of my head. I cannot remember them, but you can pay and where it's all online and you can record specific stations. But Typically, radio station breaks are going to be anywhere between, say, 10 after and 20 after the hour and 40 hour and 40 past and 50. And you can record them. One of the other great tools as well is most radio station and TV stations have their half price deal websites. Here in Cincinnati, a big radio group has Cincy Savers. There's another one which is half price deals, things like that. Because sales reps are also typically, most of them now, are selling radio on top of digital, so they're trying to combine it. If you go to those half price deal websites and you can get the information and see who's doing that, chances are they're also spending money on radio itself. So that's a really cool prospecting tool right there.
Yeah, I noticed that like some of these traditional companies are acquiring digital agencies and they're giving away their traditional product to sell their digital product. So they're combining it. So that adds a little lethal weapon in their favor. However, at the end of the day, the way we combat like the big boys out there and the big software agencies are, that's exactly what you're dealing with. Bank of America tellers selling digital. That's the way I compare them. Like try getting a hold of them in 6 months from today. Their LinkedIn resume will be different. They'll realize they were selling smoke and they don't know shit. They're software, not human driven. Because I go up against all these software companies, like even like the Yellow Pages or Dex Media or whatnot. And that's kind of the easiest rebuttal is the person selling it isn't the person that's actually doing it. The person doing it you'll never talk to, and it's algorithmically done. So a machine is actually managing it and humans are sort of watching it. The ratios are split, like 150 accounts to one human is impossible. So if any of you guys ever go up against the big boys that are publicly traded, that's typically a good line that about personal relationships and experience versus a software and Bank of America people selling ads.
Yeah, and one other thing too, there was an article out a couple of weeks ago that I read talking about mass media and selling and things like that. And a high percentage of businesses, because they get inundated with so many different sales reps and opportunities to do marketing, they prefer to deal with one, if you will. So that mass media has an advantage of one sense because those reps hopefully have built a relationship. They have trust with who the client is. So those of us on the digital side coming in on the outside, they're going to go, well, I'm already dealing with someone for my digital. I'm already handling this. I don't want another sales rep that I have to deal with. It's just another headache. And that's where showing your, the old school unique selling proposition, what makes you different. That is the one advantage that like we have in those of us in this digital space is if they're selling digital and meaning mass media and they're saying, hey, we have all these digital capabilities, they're not at the level where we're at with, messaging and bots and all this really cool stuff. So if you're able to take what we're doing and say, well, let me show you how it can be, or, maybe where you're not taking advantage of, that's the number one tool that we have that they don't, is they're a little bit behind the curve because they have to focus on so many other things where we're focusing on just this. So the latest trend, the latest element that comes out, we're on it first and we're beta testing it. And it's like, holy crap, this works. We're going to rock and roll. They're still way back here trying to figure everything else out while we have the ability and the bandwidth to be a little bit more aggressive with it.
I love that point because like just having come from a big company, for any logical idea that is already going to be a winner, a home run, grand slam even, it could take years for that to be able to permutate into the company, and then it may be too late just because you're dealing with a 1 million pound gorilla. With us, that we're agile, we can literally test things when we like live while we're doing something and see what the reaction is and be able to get feedback loops really quickly and then go and execute with a small team and start selling and getting more results. I want to just, GJ mentioned build a database and systems. That's what his company does. That's what you mentioned earlier, building a database. Love that, because that's the whole point. We're not going to be one call closers. We're not going to be one ad and all of a sudden it's peaches and cream. That's going to happen from time to time, but the reality is the money's in the follow-up. That's why building that database, that relationship, and that trust factor is really important, because it's easy to convince a lot of people to do impulsive shit by doing price drops and decoy pricing and stuff like that.
Yep.
If you want to get the long run and get people so you're talking to that same person, it does take a little bit of patience, in the sense of nurturing that relationship, because I mean, you want to have clients that are here in a year from now, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So you're not always hunting and gathering. You can have a small database and still have a 7-figure agency.
Exactly. And that's where the education and the conversation with your clients slash prospects comes in, is setting the table right up front. Are they expecting, hey, I'm investing X with you and I want this to get a quick turnaround within 30 days because my business has sucked for 6 months and boy, I better, save everything right now or I have to shut my doors. I hear that, I'm going to run, because you want a deal and you want it right now. And that's not the right way to do it, especially on the database side of things. It's the opportunity to truly cultivate and nurture those people who raise their hand, who know, like, and trust you in any business, whether it's us, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a chiropractor, whether it's a real estate agent, whoever. The biggest cost is getting someone's ass in the door that first time. Once they're in, once they call, once you have them as a client, that's really when the sales process starts. That's when the real hard work comes in. And it pisses me off all the time when I see companies, and I have DirecTV, and there's all these offers for the NFL Sunday ticket and all these free things. I mean, I had a conversation with a rep one time. I go, look, I understand it's not your job. I've been with you guys for 12 years. Wouldn't it be worthwhile throwing me a bone? Because if you take what I've spent with you over the last 12 years, why are you throwing all the freebies to the new folks as opposed to taking care of me? But that's how a lot of businesses and how it goes. Let's just incentivize like hell to get someone in the door, because once we have them, that's why customer service sucks so much at so many places. But it really needs to be that reverse, man. Once you get them in, and that's where the power of the database comes in. It's the opportunity to connect with those people. You don't want to just, puke all over them and constantly sell and slam shit down their throat, because they're going to go, whoop, enough, I'm done. But if you nurture and you talk to them in their terms and what matters to them, and that trust level builds and builds and builds, they're there for the long haul, man. And you got that front end acquisition cost. You've already paid the money to get them in. Now it's just that TLC and that effort to take care of them and customer service and let them grow. And the more they go and the more they like you, then that's where word of mouth comes in. And again, I did a really good living off selling radio for over 20 years. And I was the first one to say word of mouth marketing is king. So if you have your customers talking highly about you, that's really where the money's made, because you have zero acquisition cost on those new people that they help bring into your business. That's like pure profit, so to speak. So building a base and just nurturing that, man, that is gold.
Absolutely. I mean, that's your best. I mean, those are the best sales to have is once you demonstrate. Like I will say, there's two things we sell as an organization. Number one, the actual ROI we're able to generate that makes people smile and continue to spend money. But the second part is the TLC you mentioned, like the customer service, the outreach, the calling just to say hello for no fucking reason. That's what's missing today, which I love, because it's opportunity to me. It's almost like that movie Jerry Maguire at the end, where Jerry Maguire is like hugging his guy Rod Tidwell, and then Bob Sugar, his client's like, I want that relationship. And it's just like we're not cold stone assassins here. We want to not only get to know, like, and trust you too as a client, but enjoy it, have fun with it, because this doesn't work. I'm wearing a t-shirt and hat and closing deals at a Starbucks. I mean, those are the best. This is what it's all about. It's supposed to enjoy what you do. And when you actually like and love your client, then you can actually deliver even more value, because you have a genuine interest in their growth versus, let's say, a revenue target because investors put pressure on the sales team.
No, you're right. In fact, one of the best examples for that is the real estate agent we had when we bought our house 7 years ago. We were moving back from Texas. We were selling our house in 2008, right when the housing bubble went, right up in smoke. So everything was. So we moved back from Texas to Ohio, and we had a hell of a time selling our house. But I had a friend who was in the real estate business up in Dayton, Ohio, about 45 minutes north of us. And I said, hey, look, I know you probably get a referral fee, but can you hook me up with a realtor in Cincinnati? It's probably not going to be a real easy deal, but can hook me up. So that'll give her a little money and hook me up with someone. She hooked this up with a realtor who I love her to death. And it was a 13-month process. I lived with my mother-in-law. Now get this, Rahul. I lived with my mother-in-law, my wife, 2 kids, 2 dogs, and 3 cats for 13 months.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That was hell. So going through all of this stuff, we sold the house and we're trying to find a house and everything. So this realtor, her name was Sue, worked with us for 13 months, man. She would send us emails, how the kids transition doing, how they doing new in school, all of this. We hadn't spent a dime with her yet. We ended up buying the house. So because she stuck with us and she really held our hand through all this, I've referred 3 new people to her. And those things closed. All 3 of those contracts, she hit all those deals. She had a contract within 48 hours. She did basically like 0 work, but because she held our hand and really did a great job of building a relationship. And I saw her about 3 weeks ago at a networking event. She walked right up. She's like, how's Kyle? How's Caitlin? How's Joanne? She knew everyone's names. She, to me, was the gold standard of doing it the right way. And as you know, in real estate, there's a ton of realtors out there. And it would be real easy to go, man, I ain't going to make a dime off these people right now. I'm going to put them on the back burner and I'm going to go find a deal right now. But she stuck with it. So I use her as a great example of what it's like to really nurture and build that relationship. And she's made a crap ton of money off of me in the last 7 years.
No, that's incredible. I mean, good for her doing great service and good for you for recognizing and actually treating that with a value, because that's a lost art. A lot of people will want, like today, I see a lot of people, what's in it for me first versus how can I just help? And then if something involves me, then great. Yeah, I like that, because what we do, guys, like not to preach or anything, but our shit does not expire. Like if somebody says no today, it just means yes later. Or you just didn't give them a reason to say yes right this second. So you got to deflect that rejection like crazy. No means yes later. That's all it is. I mean, and one quick line that I always use when I get a no, I just say, all right, I'm going to try again a little bit later. Apparently, I was not able to connect the dots with you today, because if you knew what I knew in my head, you'd be jumping at this opportunity. So do you mind if I give you a call in a day or 2? And they'll chuckle and say, go for it. I don't mind you repitching. So it gives me a second swing immediately. And then I'll joke when I start. I'm like, all right, are you ready for this? Do I have your attention? Can I get you in front of a computer? Where are you? I want to now pitch you again. So now I'm very transparent about saying the word pitch and trying to say like, look, I love to win your business. And then if they say no, then I'll now have the opportunity to be more serious about like, what is it that I'm saying that you're saying no to? What is the hesitation? I just don't understand it. Help me help you. But also, most importantly, how do I pitch the next person so I can clarify my message better? So I'm just literally getting live feedback from someone who said no. And then while they're telling me their reasons, I'm now addressing their exact objection.
Exactly. And that's really a great way to approach it. One of the things that I take it this way, and this is what I taught when I was sales manager, is if the client doesn't buy, it's not on them, because how many times the sales reps come in, oh, they were stupid or they made this mistake. But I go, man, it's on you. You can only change that which you control. So if you come back and go, what didn't I do? What point didn't I make? How did I not connect with them? Did I ask them the right questions beforehand? It's on you. It's not on them. They're not a stupid client. They're not a cheap client. You got to look back at it and go, what did I do? And self-review it and then figure out, okay, what are my touch points? They're a no right now. But like you said, how can I re-engage them? Because no's temporary. You got to get a certain number of no's to get to yes, old school sales tactics. But that's where if just like you said, maybe you touch base in 2 days, that's where nurturing comes in. I'm a huge fan of using Google alerts. Great. You got told no by XYZ window company. Great. Set up a Google alert. Hopefully you did it before you went to go see them, or the window industry. And every day it shows up in your inbox, great articles that you can use to help nurture and go, hey, you know what, Rahul? I saw this article and it deals with thermo efficiency, double pane, blah, blah, blah. And there's new government guidelines for this. I thought you might find this interesting. And you're dropping it off and you're not pitching, or you're emailing things. That's where that nurturing comes in. So you get that next at bat, back to the baseball analogy, where you got out the first time, you struck out the second time, the third time you popped out the center. The fourth time, crap, you made solid contact. You hit a line drive to the shortstop, but you're going to get another at bat, and you just start getting better and better as you go. And it's just not being told no, and you stick your tail between your legs. The other thing, which I found too, is a lot of clients, they have 3 objections, because most salespeople hear the first one and put their tail between their leg and they leave, and they never even come back. They told me no. They take it personal and they're gone. So a client or prospect's going to throw that one out first because it always seems to work. It gets rid of the riffraff. If you're good and you come back and you have a rebuttal, or like you, hey, come, you answer it and you come back 2 days later, now they're going to throw objection 2 out at you, which is rarely used. But if you answer that one, you may get number 3. If you can overcome those 3 objections, chances are they're out of ammunition. They got nothing because they've never had a sales rep stick with them enough to get the number 3. Now you can have a dialogue because you've overcome those different hurdles. But man, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I see it all the time. Someone gets told no once and it's like, oh my God, they hate me, or they this. No, man, it's all part of the process. You just got to grab the bat and get up for another swing. And the more swings you get, the better your opportunity, because a lot of salespeople tuck their tail and run.
Yeah, no, totally. And when you're selling to let's say a local community or a specific niche, and you become over time not annoying, even though initially you will be because they don't want your call initially, but then you become a resource over time because you're always that guy that's consistent. And then when they see you and think of you, they're going to be like, all right, I do want to do business with this guy. The timing's not right, or they could be in a contract. They have a partner that doesn't want to go forward, et cetera. So there is a timing issue at some point in time. But also, like, doing videos like this, like today we have the opportunity to put videos in front of people so we can actually demonstrate our skill set. And that's something really cool. When you go to visit your customer or call them, have them go to your landing page, have them go to your Facebook ad or whatever it is live on the phone, just to pixel them. And then now you can stock them with ads politely to put value in front of them with a can't say no offer when you're not in the room. Because sometimes I say video me is more valuable than actual me at sometimes, which is great because while I'm sleeping, people can watch some stuff and get educated, and then they build a relationship, almost like you have a relationship with your favorite local sportscaster or ESPN sportscaster. They're just simply doing video. That's all it is. And we have that same opportunity to broadcast our message. And if something goes viral, great. You can be a sensation. If it stays at whatever, 100, 200, 300 views, cool. You may have impacted somebody who's going to say, fuck, I like these dudes. I want them to sell me or teach me sales, or I want to buy the ROI engine, or whatever it may be. So I think it's just such an opportunity just to broadcast your message. And like, I used to hate doing video. I mean, I'm not even a year into doing video, and I do this every single day now. I think Tito Santos, if he's out there, dude's great if you're going to get an editor, a guy who do professional video. I mean, but the videos that I've done, it's only been since August 16th. Like, I know the date. So, I mean, I think that this is it's made my life easier, my sales easier, et cetera. So enough rambling there. I want to jump into some tactical stuff. Like, I'm now selling stuff now. What's some places I can go get leads right now?
Depending on where the category is, I mean, if you're after restaurants, those half-price deals, all the different here in Cincinnati, the Reach magazines, all the different coupon type things. If it's real estate, hell, pull up the MLS, see who's selling what, find out where the hot areas are. There's always the FISBOs. I'm big into networking, building up that referral group and surrounding yourself with a mastermind and people who can help you. That's always huge. Earmarking who are your competitors. Again, doing the basics, homework. Who are my top competitors? Great. Who's doing business with them? If it's a landscape company, are you seeing their trucks around? Going to their website, trying to just dig in anywhere online. Again, set up Google alerts about your competitors and trying to find out different places where they are. That's really one of the biggest things, is finding people. Also, too, one of the keys, find people who are having success in what you're doing and pick their brain, or essentially emulate them. You don't have to recreate the wheel. Find people who are having great success in what you're doing, and pick their brain. It's
Yeah,
so
no,
easy
totally.
now online to be able to research things.
Yeah, and I mean, one simple way, like if somebody's getting started new, and even this is what I do even today, is like when you mention competitors, I look at them as allies because if somebody's like an expert in a niche, that means that they're willing to give up something on the other side to keep their niche. So that
Mhm.
means if you're an expert with Facebook, well, guess what? I love doing SEO. Your clients have to be asking about SEO. How can we have a mutually beneficial relationship where you refer me and I pay you money for a thank you gift? By pointing people in a direction of somebody who's done this for a long time. And that's kind of my pitch to a lot of the competitors if they
Yep.
don't do this skill set. Now, if they do, let's say somebody's like a Facebook person or a radio person, I'll bring that aspect of if you focus on like varicose vein clients and that's it. Well, your trash is my treasure. How can we monetize this? And I can
Yeah.
demonstrate that I'm good. And it's easier to sometimes sell the competitor, or not sell them, show them and demonstrate you're a good ally, and then also scratch their back. If you have an ideal customer for them, obviously kick it over the fence.
Exactly. Well, great point. I had breakfast this morning with a lady who builds websites and is in the BNI group that I'm going to be joining. And she helps run a power team that has 15 marketing people in it, meaning websites. They have a printer. She has a banner company. They have other different facets from marketing as a whole. So when I go in for my first meeting this Thursday at 7:15 a.m., I'm going to go in and I have 15 people that are going to welcome me in as an ally. Just like you said, none of them do what I do. So I'm going to have an opportunity to have one-on-ones with them, breakfast, lunch, dinners, after-hour drinks, whatever, socially, to get to know them and figure out how I can partner up with them if they have clients that need what I have, and vice versa. As I build my list, that is valuable. And again, that's where a lot of the hard work, and I love the phrase. I'm a big fan of the sales guy Jeffrey Gitomer, and his phrase that he's trademarked is most salespeople will not do the hard work necessary to make sales easy. And that's, I think, a perfect example. It's going to take work. It's going to take money to go meet with these people and have coffee and lunch and dinner and all over the place. But that's going to really, steamroll and give me the greatest opportunity for success, because then I'll have 15 people who are looking out for me, and I'm going to be looking out for them too. They're going to be a part of my team. The idea of just simply sitting down and go, gee, I'm new in sales, whatever the category is, and I don't know where to start. If that's your mindset on day one, you got to change shit real quick, man. I mean, you got to reach out. You got to, with the internet and with networking groups and chamber of commerce or whatever, you got to get off your butt and away from the camera and away from the keyboard and get out there and pound the pavement and build relationships and do the prospecting again. Even if it's just old school stuff, the old, you walk in a business and there's a door to the right and a door to the left. When I was in radio sales and I started out, I did that. You got to open your mind to all kinds of possibilities on how I can connect with people, figure out what's working, and then focus your energy on those strong points, so you're not, kind of pissing in the wind and wasting time and energy doing stuff that isn't producing results for you.
Yeah, real quick, whoever's here, whoever's going to watch this, I know we've been going for a while, about almost 40 minutes here. On May 1st this year, what is it? It's only April 23rd. I never know what day it is. So in about 7 or 8 days, I don't know what day that is, but May 1st, if anybody is down to do a cold calling day, that looks like it's Wednesday next week. I'll set up a Zoom link, comment, tag me. And I want to do a cold call. We'll zoom in, mute each other out, and we'll just look at each other, be motivated, and try to get through a dialing day. I haven't cold called in years, or if I have, I don't remember. Because I don't look at cold calls as cold calls. I look at it as like, hey, this is what I do. Are you interested? I almost try to put the mindset of they walked into my store and I'm just telling them what I do, and that's really it. It's an introductory call. So I'm going to be doing that. If anybody wants to roll and just jump on a Zoom, we'll literally mute out. And the whole purpose of this is to see each other on the phone, talking, our veins popping out, getting high fives. Somebody maybe close a deal, build a new relationship, find a new network. And the simple thing I'm going to do is come in completely unprepared. And all I'm going to do is find my ideal customer. So it's realtors. Guess what? I'm going to go to realtor.com, go to that find a realtor directory and dial through. If you're looking for doctors, Google top 100 doctors that deal with varicose veins and find that list and dial through. There's going to be no strategy behind it. It's just going to be I personally am more of a little bit. I don't know if I'm opposite of you, Doug, but I know you mentioned like
Right.
research your clients. I'm more of like a gunslinger, like Brett Favre. I might have the most interceptions, in this case, the most hangups, but I like to go unprepared because I feel like my unpreparedness is prepared in the sense of I'm selling one service, Facebook ads to realtors. And if I go down that niche, if I'm targeting my lawyer niche, then I'm going with where are your rankings on Google? Or if they have negative reviews, I can say, do you think that's hurting your business having all these 1 stars? So I'll hit them hard where
Yep.
they're pissed off, and
Well,
then I'll find the solution.
doing that kind of an approach, and trust me, I've done it. What I would do is find one like key little element about that industry or that category. If it was chiropractors, I'm just throwing that out. What is one element about the chiropractic industry that is a hook, something I could use as a question, and then I'm just rattling it off. If I have 100 chiropractors, great. I've at least got a lead-in, question or whatever it is to try to help open up the overall conversation. So it's not researching every single category, but just trying to have that one overall, niche thing that I can talk about. Today I'm calling chiropractors. Tomorrow I'm calling restaurants. Then I'm going to call podiatrists on Wednesday. That's the way that I would typically approach on the overall cold calling aspect, to just have one little thing that I could throw out.
Yeah, definitely. That's the most important thing, because if you're going to be cold calling, you got to catch their attention because they don't want it. And
Mhm.
sometimes, like, I mean, you got to feel like it's a warm up. The first few, you're going to suck, and you're like, damn, I got rust. But the whole thing is, it's a mind game. Just keep going. The faster you dial, the more contacts you're going to make, and the more natural you'll be. And just you're a phone actor. Be who you want to be, and then just go out guns blazing and be confident on that. But yeah, finding that winner phrase. Like sometimes I say, hey, this is Rahul. I do real estate marketing. I know you're not expecting my call, so I just want to be quick. Do you have 1 quick minute? So I'm announcing essentially it is a cold call. That's probably going to be my lead in. And typically the person who answers the phone is I hunt and gather information. So if it's a law firm, it's a receptionist. If it's a real estate office, it's also a receptionist. So I know that person has probably been there less than a year. And if they're newer, the better, because I'm going to get more information out of them, because
Right.
they're going to think I know the person I'm asking for.
Right. Yeah. Oh no, that makes total sense. One other aspect of it too is knowing who's the person who may make that decision, or who's the person that you're going after. So you just answered that as, if going in, hey, chances are I'm going to get someone who maybe won't know as much, and they're going to be willing to help spill the beans. That's great going in. The other thing which I found, and a lot of people are scared to death when you say have a script. That'll scare the shit out of people, because we all think of that horrible call we get where you can tell someone's reading a script and it sounds, you're like, oh my God, please. But I'm a big fan of scripts, but you got to have it so damn cold. Because if you think of Broadway plays, movies, TV shows, they're all operating off of scripts, unless it was like a Robin Williams movie and he was, ad lib and shit. But for the most part, you go to a Broadway play, it's a script. They know it. What they focus on is the inflections and the pauses and all of that. So when I say have a script down, I will script things out, but I rehearse it over and over and over to where it comes across just like you and I talking right now, but I've got it memorized. The company that I'm leaving now to join Matt full time, people in the office laughed because they would hear me do a presentation, and I'd get off the phone and I could knock it out in about 25 minutes. I knew everything. And they would say, oh my God, I was saying it in my head. I knew every joke. I knew when you were going to pause. I knew this. And I go, exactly. I'm like, because I've rehearsed it and I had it down so much that I was just more focusing on making sure it was conversational and it came across. So even on the cold call stuff, to me, the opportunity to just have it down to where it's not scripted, but you have an idea of what you're going to do and what you're going to ask. And it just comes across as more confident, because one of the things I found too, when what scares the shit out of people when it comes to cold calling is, I don't know what the person's going to say. I'm not sure what to say. I've heard that tons of times. I don't know what I'm going to say. Well, why don't you get an idea of what you're going to say? Because if you're confident in what you're going to say when someone picks up the phone, it's going to come across. You're not going to, crap your pants and go, holy crap, Rahul answered the phone. Now what do I say? You got to have confidence when you're cold calling as well. So that's just one thing that, again, me personally, I'm going to script out at least a little bit, at least my open, to where I know exactly what I'm going to say every time and how I'm going to say it.
No, definitely having that like outline or framework is absolutely paramount, just so you don't waste your time or theirs.
Right.
Because then you're going to cause your own self frustration, because then you're truly unprepared. When I say I go gunslinging, I meant like I'm mentally prepared of like what, like I know how to talk, I know how to react. So I mean, essentially, like how I learned sales is I sucked for 90 days. I was the worst one out of 120 sales rep. Thought I was going to get fired. I told that story earlier. But the reality is, what I did was I sat down with the top 3 people in the entire company, and all I did was listen to their calls. And I didn't bug them. I didn't bother them. I didn't take them to lunch. I listened to their calls and I wrote down what I liked based on the reaction of the customer. I'm like, holy shit, these guys, like in but like what you said, I can repeat everything they were gonna say, their tone of voice, their emotion. It was just like you can literally, they were a script, because it just worked. So when something works, script it.
Oh yeah, exactly. And one side note with how you said you started, I had moved to a station in West Texas back in the mid '90s. Never sold a damn thing in my life. And my wife was 9 months pregnant with our son. We moved 2.5 hours from one city to this city. We bought a house. My wife wasn't going to work, and I'm on a 100% commission job with a small amount of money I was making because I did high school and college sports play-by-play down in Texas as well. So essentially, I don't know how to sell. I've got a wife, a kid, a house. If I don't sell, I'm going to be screwed. And I did exactly what you did. I was fortunate enough to have a couple real solid veterans at the radio station who took me under their wing. But man, anything at all regarding sales, I was a sponge. I was buying books. This is, pre-internet again, because I'm old.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing everything I can. And I learned by getting my teeth kicked in, by being told no, by cold calling, by doing all of these things. And that is such a learning experience. As you're going through it, you think it sucks. And you're going, oh my God. But that is such a great learning tool. And just like you did and what I did and what a lot of people whoever's watching this probably went through the same shit, is that getting your teeth kicked in and failing and having to do things you're uncomfortable with, in the long haul, that builds that foundation I mentioned when I first started. You get that solid foundation, you have so much more confidence because you've been through hell.
Yeah, no, I love that, because repetition is the mother of success. The more no's, the stronger you are. It's just that will to win is pushing through and just kind of brute force. It's like a pitcher that gave up like Dennis Eckersley in the 1988, giving up that home run to Kirk Gibson. The guy still played baseball and went down a great pitcher, but he definitely had some failures along the way. So it's just fighting through those. But going into like some sales books, you mentioned Jeffrey Gitomer. One, like I'll go to you right after this, but some of the sales resources I love that I listen to, it's pretty much one book or one audiobook. It's called Never Lose Again. And then one new one I've just started is called Never Split the Difference. And it's by some former FBI hostage negotiator that was dealing with saving lives. So it's kind of like and then the Never Lose Again audiobook, that's by 2 really old school attorneys that are really good at negotiating deals. So those are 2 resources I love, and when you hear people, their voices, they're really old school. But when I'm running, I'm always listening to one of those 2 right now.
Yep, no, I'm with you. My number 1 book is Think and Grow Rich. I have the audiobook on that. I've read the book. I'm up to probably 5 times all the way through that thing. Was it Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People? Jeff, I have all of his books. Tom Hopkins was one that I read back in the 80s when I first got into sales. There's a new one that I came across by listening to a Tony Robbins podcast, Chet Holmes, Building the Ultimate Sales Machine. Man, I wish the hell I had that thing a few years ago. That is just gold. So,
okay, I'm gonna definitely write that one down.
Yeah, the Ultimate Sales Machine. I have the audiobook and the actual book. So when I'm in my car, I listen to podcasts and I listen to audiobooks. But Chet Holmes, the Ultimate Sales Machine, that is huge. Jeffrey Gitomer, which I know you and I talked about in San Diego. I love his no bullshit style. He's from Philly and Jersey, and he just talks like it. He's not, he's a little rough around the edges, but he's very straightforward. And to me, I have read those books so many times that literally I'll say something and I'll think, man, I'm really smart. I came up with it. Then I read one of the books and go, oh, hell, that's where I picked it up from. So it's just reading the same things. When I find something that works, I read it over and over and over again. But that would be, if I could take my laptop and walk down to where my library is, you would see a stack of those books right there. And I grab the one off the top. When I'm done, I put it at the bottom and I grab the next one off the top and I just keep cycling through.
What makes all those people that you mentioned great, I don't know who Chet Holmes is, but I know the other names, is the consistency of following that process, that script you were saying, the framework behind it, and understanding there's X amount of objections and how to address them ahead of time, by being able to read the customer pretty well, like through psychology, body language, tone of voice, arms crossed. Because I always look for the three things of time frame, decision makers, and do you have the budget?
Right.
The next is just about demonstrating value, and then there are ancillary objections like I don't have my wallets in the car. We'll do it tomorrow. Blah blah blah. All that other stuff. So you can kind of weed your way around those. But those are the three biggies that I always look for. And then if not now, then when are they planning on seeing success? Because one line I don't know why I like, if it's a movie or Harvey Specter from Suits, it's like there's no valor in delaying success.
Good one. Good one. I like that. One thing I look at too, when you're talking about different prospecting tools, is I look at it as a pyramid per se. You have three different sections. One, the client or prospect, let's just say prospect, they have to believe in marketing. Because if you're going in and you're going, boy, I'm going to pitch these people and I can get them on marketing, and you're talking about what you do, but they don't even believe in marketing, you're wasting your time. So they have to believe in marketing. Then they have to believe in your platform, your medium. So when I was selling radio, it was, okay, great. Are they advertising somewhere? Maybe it's not radio, but are they advertising somewhere? Great. They believe in advertising. What's the message they're trying to do? Then it was like, oh crap, they're advertising on radio. So they're in my world. Now I need to get them to that third section, which is advertising with me. So when you're doing the whole prospecting thing, that's the first thing I look at is, where are they? And again, with the world of Google, it's so damn easy. You can figure things out, type a name in, and if they're doing something somewhere, you're going to see it. If they're not marketing, then you got to sell them on that first. And that's a much longer road. So that's where you set up your different sales campaigns to say, that category makes a hell of a lot of sense. And I think I can make some inroads because maybe it's an industry that isn't typically doing a lot of advertising. So you can say, shit, I think there's a gold mine there. Perfect example with that. There's a dentist here in Cincinnati who about 3-4 years ago started IV sedation. Now there's dentists all over the country who do it, but his whole pitch was, if you haven't been to the dentist in a long time and you're afraid of it, essentially we're going to put an IV in your arm and we're going to knock you out. You're not going to feel a thing. No Novocaine, no this, no that. Well, dentists typically didn't do a whole lot of advertising. This dude has built like 3 new wings on his dentist office, and he's opened a second location, and he's everywhere because he marketed something a little bit different. That would have been someone as a great tool, radio, whatever else. Man, this guy's got a niche. No one else is advertising it. It's going to be a longer road, but if I work him, that's a gold mine. So you had to sell him on marketing first and then work it down. So that's just one example. Then, obviously the second thing, are they advertising in what you do? Great. Well, then you can approach them. What makes you different from what they're doing? Who are they on? What's your unique selling proposition? What makes it different? If it's proving ROI, building a database, whatever, and then ultimately getting them on with you. So you just kind of made that point. I just wanted to jump onto that real quick, looking at it from that tiered structure, because then it tells you how to approach them where they are at.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now, like one of the things is, in sales or being an entrepreneur or owning a business or being part of a sales team, even getting in and out of slumps are going to happen. And being mentally strong enough to be able to withstand that, let's say, self pressure or lack of having a good week or a day or a month even. What are some tips that you do to avoid getting into a sales slump and riding some sort of momentum wave? And then when you get in one, is there any kind of strategy or tactics that you recommend for getting out of a sales slump?
Yeah, I think no matter how good we are, we're all going to hit some kind of a slump. Even the best hitters in baseball hit a slump.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I do and that I have tried to teach the people who were under me is we've all had success at some point. You need to create that as an anchor for when times hit the fan and things are shit. You can go back to a spot where it's almost like a reset, where you can go, you know what? I overcame these objections for this, and it basically resets you. And now this is mine, and this is goofy, but this is mine. When I met my wife, it was in late November. We were at a dance club. A lot of my family thinks we met at college. We met at a dance club. And I was at the bar getting a drink, and she walked by and she pinched my butt, honest to God. So I'm going, hey, I got a chance. We start talking, we dance. I get her number, I call, and I ask her out. She shoots me down. She was busy. I'm like, that's a bunch of crap. A couple weeks later, I see her again. We're dancing. I'm like, hey, can I ask you out? Yeah. Call me and we'll go out. I call. She shoots me down again. Strike two. I see her again in January and we're dancing. And she's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and go hang with my friends. And I won't repeat the exact word here, but I said, I don't have a blanking gun to your head. Go do what you want. She left. She came back about 30 seconds later, got in my face, and she said, nobody talks to me like that. I said, I just did. We're dancing. Great. Next weekend, we went out. We've been together for 26 years. So if I took that first no and I was like, screw that, I wouldn't have my wife. I wouldn't have my kids. Who knows what life would be like, but I wouldn't have them. So whenever I'm hitting that slump or, shit's just wrong, I look at it and I go, dude, I overcame 2 hardcore objections. Look at where I'm at. So that's rule number 1 is I tell somebody, you've had success somewhere, anchor that. That's what you get back to say, I know I can do this. The second thing is what I talked about in when we first started this, go back to the basics. And I love sports, so I use sports analogies all the time. When a baseball hitter gets into a slump, he goes into the batting cage. They'll even pull the tee out, the old tee ball like we played when we were 7 years old. They put the damn ball on the tee and they practice their swing. It's as elementary as you can get, but the best of the best go right back to the basics. And when you're a football player, what do? The NFL, these dudes have been playing football since Pee Wee League. They have training camp. They're practicing blocking and tackling. Soccer, they have camp. Baseball, they have spring training. Basketball, they do the same thing. What do they practice on? The fundamentals. So when you're in that slump, and we're all going to get it. I don't care how good you are. I don't care what your numbers are. You're going to hit a slump. What differentiates the top tier salespeople from the also-rans is how quick they get out of it. And the best of the best are going to sit back, realize, and go, what am I doing wrong? What steps am I missing? Let's go back to the basics. Let's put the ball on the tee and let's figure this out. And over time, you can become quicker at figuring out what you're doing wrong, what you're missing. Maybe you got lazy and you missed a step or two and you took something for granted. But you go back to that anchor for one to go, I've done this before, damn it, I can do it. That's the transfer of confidence. You got to be able to know you can do it. And then analyze what your basics are, and you'll be able to figure it out and get out of slumps faster. I don't think there's any real hardcore 8-page dissertation or a secret code to it. It's just analyzing, get back to the basics.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, some of the tricks I use for a slump buster, if you will, is call an existing client that has a need or a want to engage a conversation. So it's comfortable. Or I call one of my favorite clients and just shoot the shit for a few minutes, call my mom, my sister, my friends, just to get the momentum of talking and energy up.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of the simple things. That's kind of my basics. And then from there, it's just mental. It's just a matter of, you've been there, done that. Shit's going to happen. Just keep moving. If you get scared, if that phone turns into 100 pounds, then you're pretty much fucked.
You're right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the number one no is just like, keep going. Don't worry, because if you worry, then you have that unnecessary pressure on yourself. That's just useless. It's just like, keep going. Who cares? It's going to happen. That's really the simple ways of getting out of slumps. Because I've been in one, I've been out of one. It's peaks and valleys when you're in sales. I mean, one day you're like, oh my God, this is the greatest day of life. And then the very next hour, it's like, today sucks. And then an
Yeah.
hour later, it's like, oh man, this is so cool. I got another deal. So I mean, it's just dealing and withstanding those peaks and valleys and pressure you put on yourself, which is good pressure because that means you have goals.
Exactly. I think one other thing too, and I can talk about this from personal experience. About 5 years ago, I'm going with the ups and downs again, trying to do what I just said. What's my anchor point? I know I can do this. Go back to the basics. One thing that I found though, I had the best success in my best years when I was consistently working out and taking care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Lazy by going to the gym or not working out, I felt like shit. My confidence level was down and my sales were down. And I went back through because again, you peaks and valleys, and I'm like, damn, what is going on? And I look back and it's like, well, every time I've been high, sales have been good, life has been good. I've been working out, I've been taking care of myself. So for the past 5 years, I've been very consistent with exercising. And I want to say kudos to you for the challenge that you're doing. And I made a comment to that, is that back in November, I started Weight Watchers as well to go along with working out. And this was something that my wife was going to do. And I go, you know what? I'm going to partner up and I'm going to be your support. But this is the first time that I've truly took the nutrition part of it along with the working out. And since November, I'm down 21 pounds and life has been phenomenal. Now, maybe it's just purely coincidence, whatever. I don't believe in that crap. I'm taking care of me. I feel good. My confidence level is high and things have really taken off for me. And, good luck getting that Weight Watchers app off my phone because now it's a combo and I'll be damned if I'm going to give it up. And again, kudos to you for doing what you're doing with the challenge, looking to lose weight, get yourself in shape. It makes a hell of a difference.
Absolutely. When you're physically fit, you're confident, you feel good, your energy's higher, you're waking up earlier, you're sleeping possibly. I mean, when I work out and I eat healthy, I honestly need less sleep for whatever reason. So I mean, I'll go to bed at 1 a.m., wake up at 5:30. I mean, it just feels high peak energy. And then like alternatively, when I eat like shit or if I drink too much, then my confidence is low. I'm boring on the phone. I don't feel like doing stuff, and then I need more sleep. So it's like complete opposites. Now I want to just dive into one last topic. I know. Do you have a little bit more time, Doug?
Yeah, man. Whatever you need.
Okay, cool. The last thing I want to go over is what I think a lot of people, especially even myself, like when I do these interviews, like somebody asks, like, why do you do all these interviews or how do you get guests on? And I'm like, you know what? I'm selfish. I want to ask questions I want answers to, and I know it's going to help other people. So here's my selfish question that I know will help other people. Managing salespeople, 3 parts that I want to talk to you about and let you take it from here is the selection process, the expectations you set early on and keep consistent throughout. And then the third element is motivating them to keep withstanding the pressures that we've gone through to push through and reach our common goal.
So the selection process, I'll probably ask you to repeat 2 and 3. The selection process, when I was hiring, I actually looked at it as a positive if they didn't have a lot of sales experience, because chances are they had crap training and they had horrible habits, and it would take much longer to erase those habits and get them to forget them and then start going in the right direction. So experience was never that big of a thing for me. It's, how outgoing are they? One, are they on time? One of my biggest things, if I had an appointment at 11 o'clock, did they show up 10 till? Did they show up 15 till? Did they show up 1 minute beforehand and they come in out of breath? That was a big indicator for me, because if you're on time, you're late. Get there early. So little teeny things like that. But a lot of it was just the overall conversation. How did they handle themselves? Did they exude that confidence? Were their shoulders, down? Were they sitting up? Were they kind of like this? Were they darting eye to eye, side to side? Were they not making eye contact with me? Was it some ums or this? That was a big no. I wanted someone that would be not afraid to help challenge me, where if I'm talking to them and say, well, here's really what I'm after. And, based on the conversation, not really sure if this is going to be a real good fit. I don't want them to go, well, okay, Thanks for the opportunity, because they get an objection out in the field. That to me, someone's going to tuck their tail. I want to, well, challenge it. Go, well, what would make you think that? Because I told you I've done this and this and this and this and this. Don't be afraid to back down. Those are the little traits. I was never one that go, wow, man, this guy's got 10 years experience. I would talk to him, obviously, because if someone has a lot of experience and they know what the hell they're doing and they've got it down, perfect. But where I was, it wasn't that type of situation. I would have to get somebody and go, all right, I'm going to give them a 12-month guarantee. I'm going to take them progression month to month. I'm going to have benchmarks on what they're going to do. And as long as they're hitting those benchmarks, I know that they're going to be successful. That was really the biggest thing for me, was just trying to engage people and find out if they had that internal fortitude to not take that first objection and just run. If they had the ability and that stick-to-itiveness, that was a big trait for me.
Yeah, like Barry, you're on here. I don't know if you're still on here or not, but like we went to this Tony Robbins event called Business Mastery, and one of the things Tony Robbins does is he runs ads for top performance coaches, or whatever he calls the title. And when they call in response to the ad or apply through whatever mechanism they apply on, they answer the phone, and they'll immediately hang up on the people saying, sorry, we're looking for world-class salespeople only. And they'll make a short pause before they hang up to wait for a witty response. And one guy, I guess, had a cool response saying, I know, what are you, deaf? So I like that guy. So
yeah, no, exactly.
Throw an objection out and see the reaction, because ultimately that's what it is. There's Barry. So we're business mastery pals from Florida, and we both happen to be from California.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So you said finding them. What was question 2?
So the selection process right now. So you gave me the process you follow. And then once you now have somebody, setting those benchmarks of expectations so you can get them through this success period of 12 months. So every morning when they come in, they know their goals, their structure, and they're meeting them, the check-in points. So it's kind of not only it's not just the expectation, but how do you measure it?
Well, this was a challenge for me, because when I took over the sales manager role, the old adage, and this was an independent owner, so the owner was in the building, and it was always, well, they have 3 months, which is, again, what a lot of companies do. And I had to argue with him to say, no, we hire somebody. We need salespeople. We're guaranteeing them a salary for 12 months. Now, if they reach a point before that guarantee is up in which their commissions are higher than that, then they have the ability to say, I want to go on commission. And when they get one shot, and when they do that, they're on commission. Because those first 3 months, I want them to understand, A, what's the overall product? What are we selling? How does it work? But not just how, it's why. I'm a big fan of the Simon Sinek video, the how, why, what. Okay, understanding why. It's not just how, you got to understand what's the inner workings of it. And I don't want them to have the pressure of every day coming in, week 1, week 2, that first month of saying, oh my God, I got to get out on the streets. I'm going to crap my pants and, whatever else, because they're going to be scared. So it was really those slow, steady progressions, and just having quizzes. I'm a big fan of role playing. I know a lot of people go, ugh, but you got to overcome that. And if you can do it in the conference room, and you're talking to me and I'm throwing out real world scenarios, and I can get you prepared for it. Those are the things we would do over those first few months, or, first at least 2 months, get them ready. Then it was okay, you're going to go out on calls. I'm going to go out on calls. I'm going to show you some of the clients, following along with some of the veteran reps so they can see what it's like in the field. Let the veterans, not everybody. I wouldn't let them go with everybody on the staff. There's a couple that, okay, these guys got their shit together. Couple guys and a girl, they had their shit together. You're going to follow them along. And I would tell these reps, look, you do this and you help them along. Look, man, I'm going to take you to dinner. I'll buy you dinner. This is all part of it, because if they're successful, it's going to help us as a team. And it's slowly building them up to where when they're in month 4 and they've got more confidence and they're not, stressed out. Okay, great. Now it's an opportunity to go out. We're going to do some prospecting. We're going to do all this to where you're actually out on the streets. flying solo, because a bird has to leave the nest at some point. Sometime you got to kind of kick them out. And knowing full well that if you go out and you make 10 calls and you get 10 zeros, you're not coming back and you're not going to get fired. It's truly, it's building that confidence as you go along to where they start having success. And really about 6 months in, I want them out to where they've got their calls, they've got their prospects, they're out on the street. Now they're starting in real world scenarios, building those relationships, because the ultimate goal is if they can knock it out of the park before that 12 months hit and they can go on commission, great. That means you're making damn good money. That's awesome. So if they're not doing that by month 6, then it's okay. We got to get a little bit more inner workings here because we still have 6 months to try to make it work. But typically what would happen by month 6, they're out flying, man. They're the bird out of the nest. And by month 8, month 7, month 8, they're coming off of the guarantee because they're out there selling. And we were fortunate enough, knock on wood, in the first 3 years I was down there, we grew station revenue 20% each year over the first 3 years by simply following that. We took the pressure off of them. We let them grow. We let them fail. And we took those little benchmarks to say, here, month 1, month 2, month 3, here's where you need to be by month 6. And by month 8, chances are you're going to be off and running. And it was so much better. And of course, the owner, well, how the hell are we growing like this? Because you allowed me to do what I wanted to do. We weren't jamming 90 days down these people's throats. We gave them a chance to grow, and it paid off huge dividends.
I love that, because then they're not up against a shot clock, and then that's where their mental capacity is going to, is failure versus getting to the success.
Yeah, exactly. And any business owner knows it's expensive as hell to keep hiring people. So if you're investing and you got 90 days as a sales rep, now granted you got a little bit of a guarantee built in, but if you're any kind of company, you have training. So you're going to take your time or your wherewithal. Maybe you have an outside sales program that they teach. That costs you money. You're investing money in these people. So it's like buying stock. And I love stock market analogies. You're not going to go buy a stock tomorrow and turn around in 2 days and go, hey, I'm going to sell this thing and expect a huge profit. No, you're going to buy it. 12 months down the road, you're probably going to get a little bit of a return, 6%, 7%, whatever. I look at people as the same way. You're truly investing in people for your company. You're investing in your salespeople. You got to give them time to help grow and to help nurture and become confident in it, because sales isn't easy, man. I mean, anyone knows that. Anyone who's been in sales, they're like, shit, even the most successful, they know that it can be freaking brutal. So you can't put that pressure on people. You got to give them time to grow, time to nurture, and ultimately they have that long-term success.
Mm-hmm. Now, since, like you mentioned, I mean, sales has a lot of pressure. It has a lot of like mental capacity that goes into it. And you have, whether you're doing it for yourself or for somebody else, how do you keep people motivated being a manager of salespeople?
I was never one that would yell and scream. I've had managers like that who would just be hell. In fact, literally, the first manager I had at the station in West Texas, we had the beepers that I was talking about. If he wanted you to call him, he put in the number 666. I mean, come on. I mean, seriously, but that was his thing. He was an ass. Just to give you an example, the reason I left that place was my grandma had died and I wanted to come back to Cincinnati. And he looked across from his desk. Honest, this is what he said. He goes, I don't believe you. I want proof. I want you to bring back a finger. And dude, we were like nose to nose, man, screaming, yelling. The bosses from the other end are coming down. That's the kind of manager. And I've had a lot of those. I wasn't like that. I was the type where something's going on. Let's sit down. Let's talk about it. What's going on? What's wrong? What are you doing? Trying to just build up the overall confidence. And you would reach a point where, man, it's just not going to work for you. So I've had to fire people. Firing people sucks. But you want to give them every opportunity. And so much of sales is mental. I mean, I've read where it's 80%, 90%. I believe in that 90%. You got to have everything up here. And as a manager, being able to support, but one, knowing that you have their back, that's the biggest thing. If crap's rolling downhill, and management's on your ass, that you're not just going to turn in and roll it off your back onto them. That if something's wrong, you're willing to go. And even if you get struck down, they have to see and know that you're willing to fight for them. They're your team. They're your boys. They're your girls. You are there for them. Once they establish that you're there for them, then being able to have those heart-to-heart conversations. Man, this is what I'm seeing. What are you doing? You're just not prospecting enough. The sheets you're turning in, I'm not seeing it. What can we do? What are you doing? It's just having those heart-to-heart, not scream and yell, because if someone's having a tough time at it, the last thing they want is someone up their ass. I mean, really giving them the old 1-2. All that does is just squash them down even more. I'm big on the support. I've handed out those books. Hey, look, what was the last book you read? I would completely throw a whole curveball at them and go, when was the last time you invested in yourself? What was the last book you read? And they're sitting there going, I thought I was coming in here for an ass chewing, and I'm like throwing them a curve. And I go, you know what? Tell you what, I'm going to give you a copy. Here's a copy of my book here. Read this book, because it might have been a Gittimer book, or it might have been Think and Grow Rich, or it might have been something. Read this book, because this guy was in the same boat you were in, and there's a lot of different answers. You may hear it from me, and I'm like the teacher from Charlie Brown, because you talk to me all the time. All you hear is wah, 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 wah. Here's somebody who's been through it. If you don't believe me, read this. And I'd find little things that might make them kind of go, oh, shit, just a little extra motivation. That was big on my end. A lot of times it worked. Again, I can go back to the basics that we grew. But there were some people that were just lost cause. I tried everything and it just wasn't for them. And oftentimes you can kind of give them the olive branch and give them the opportunity to save face where they decide it's not for them. They leave, therefore they walk out of the building with their head held high as opposed to being fired.
No, I love it. No, that's incredible stuff. I want to do this again with you at some point, and on the next one, we'll prepare offline, but I want to put together like a framework for somebody to go cold calling. Like when I say a framework, like basically an opening line, we'll pick a product to sell. We'll say like Facebook ads because it's relevant to the digital marketing audience, and how to break the ice. And we'll just pick a random niche, whether it's restaurants or lawyers, doctors, whatever. I don't care what it is. And let's just do a live where we can actually role play together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In fact, one of the things that I do when it comes to that, again, I go back to the scripts I mentioned. I'll come up with a script that I'm doing for the call. Then if I leave a message or I talk, or, a lot of times you may not get someone on the phone, but you leave a message. Then I have the follow-up script for the email with the subject line per my voicemail. Yeah. And it's just additional ways. So you're having that, as you said, frequency, having that whole two-prong attack. So it's going in prepared to say, here's what I'm going to say. And even if I talk to you, say that I'm cold calling you and I get Rahul on the phone, I've got an email ready to go as a follow-up to be able to say, hey, man, great talking to you. Certainly appreciate it. Look forward to staying in touch. And by the way, here's an article of interest I thought you might like. So again, without getting off the beaten path, those are certainly things we could talk about before that have been really big, successful things to help me out over the years.
Perfect. Yeah. And I have a couple ideas. I'm just going to say one quick one is that like for like real estate agents and lawyers, we created 100+ social media graphics that we're just giving away for free for an introduction. That's all it is. We've already built it once. Now we invested in it. Now we're just saying, hey, we're the cool guys in the group. All these other guys are noise. We're giving free value. You're going to make whatever better branding, more deals on our dime. And in return, all we want is you to possibly listen to us or think of us when you think of marketing. So it's just to say, here's our introduction. Here's some free value. Hit us up if you need help, if you can't do it yourself.
That makes a ton of sense. In fact, what you're saying, you really like that Chet Holmes book that I mentioned, Building the Ultimate Sales Machine. A lot of stuff that he talked about is just what you had said, and it talks about internal and different stages and things like that, which it was comforting to read it because I go, wow, there's a lot of these things that I have been doing, but there were several nuggets that literally the light bulb went on over my head, and I'm like, oh, shit, I wish I'd have been doing this for years. So what you said makes a ton of sense, and that's why I think you would like that book there because
awesome.
You were spot on.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for the time. We went like an hour and 20 minutes here. I can probably talk with you for until tomorrow.
Oh, dude, I love this stuff, man. I could talk forever. Now, of course, and of course, my wife knows it too. She's like, yeah, whatever. You can't have a short conversation about anything regarding sales.
Well, maybe she'll be happy with you because I used all your words.
Yeah, no, no, dude. I used to work in radio. I was on air. I can talk. Trust me.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I'll coordinate with you offline. I would love to do this again with you.
Sounds good. I look forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Doug.
No problem.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye.